Hi friends, welcome to Take 3 Talks. I'm Estefi and I'm going to be your host. Today I am with the one, the only, Mei Jun Kai. The crowd gets wild.
I love that.
Hi partner.
Hello. I'm here.
Welcome to this episode.
Thank
Are you
you.
nervous?
Thank you for having me.
Nervous.
Not necessarily nervous. It's been a while since we've done this, so just like getting back on the table with table tennis. Once I'm warmed up, I think that it's gonna flow more smoothly. Because now it's like putting all the reminders in my head. Make sure you pronounce. Putting all that pressure. Enunciate. Make sure you speak your mind and all that stuff. The pre butterfly jitters.
Yeah.
I think it's normal, but I'm excited to be here and talking to you.
Yeah. I like that. There's a class in the range method thing that's called jitterbug. And
what is it called?
Jitterbug.
Jitterbug.
And basically it's kind of like the class that I did with Juliana yesterday. It's called Shake the Dust, and it's just like going with those jitterbugs. And something that Juliana said yesterday is finding the freedom within the boundaries. And I invite you to do that, to find the freedom within the boundaries.
Yeah.
I know that we're confined to the audio space, even though you also have it recording on video.
We're trying something new today,
Yes.
just to have and see and experiment and explore.
Yeah, exactly. And I invite you to find freedom within the boundaries of the topic too. So what I wanted to do in this episode is, the last episode we published was basically part 4 of our story of sorts, part 4 of 3. And we gave people a little bit of a catch up or what life has been since the last time we told you our story, etc., etc. But I wanted to take this episode to go a little bit more specific into lessons and learnings and kind of like a chatty conversation on our 8th anniversary as a couple and our 4th anniversary as a creative working couple. And yeah, I have a few talking points of sorts to keep us railed in. But again, I just want to welcome us back into the ground. Welcome back to the arena of the podcast. I know that it's been really something scary for me to get back on, just because I know that there's all of these pressures that I put myself as well, that I put on myself, like the show notes and the this and the cover and the editing. And I think before we weren't allowing ourselves, or I wasn't allowing myself to give the podcast the priority that it deserves, because I was comparing it to how much income, for example, it brought in versus me spending time on a project. So I'm excited to kind of be reshaping our priorities and our interests and be able to be exploring again after going through burnout. And I'm glad that we're here. I know that, oh my God, back in the day, we used to always get in a fight the day of the podcast recording. And I just feel so grateful and thankful that, I don't know, that we didn't get in a fight. And we're like so much, we're so much more integrated into ourselves now. And I think sharing will come from a very different place, I think. I appreciate having those episodes, but I'm excited to, I don't know, get a new flow going.
Same
so
here.
Yeah, welcome to this episode.
Thank
I love you.
Love you too.
Okay, so now let's start with, I'll do kind of like a 8th year anniversary type of questions, love, life, relationship, and then I'll do some work relationship kind of questions. So we're going to go from one topic to the other.
Okay.
And yeah. So number 1, I wanted us to talk a little bit about our couples therapy, 49 sessions, and putting a pause on it, right, for the 50th session.
Yeah.
We didn't even know it was like that number. But I just want you to share, maybe from your perspective, what does that bring? What do you want to share with people on that topic?
Yeah. Thank you again for having me here. It's super exciting. In terms of couples therapy, I think that was something that we started when we needed it back during the pandemic, when we were stuck in one place trying to figure out all of these layers of relationships that we had between each other. And we did a wild journey, roller coaster ride from session 1 to session 49 over the span of, I would say, a year and a half, maybe.
I think more, maybe 2 years.
Maybe a year and a half to 2 years.
Because we started in, the pandemic was when 2020. We started in November 2020.
Yeah, so close to 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, a year. Yeah, I think the math isn't off that much.
Yeah.
But point is, we did it when we really needed it back then. And we learned so many tools that we started to apply consciously and subconsciously throughout those 2 years. And I think that when we started to get to the tail end of the 49 sessions, maybe it's like sessions 30 something, 40 something, that's when it started to feel like we were depending on couples therapy a little bit too much, like overly. We're getting codependent with therapy, and we were not able to really fully apply the tools that we learned because we were like using that as an excuse. You know what, we'll just talk about it in therapy, screw this, but blah blah blah, and then we'll put things under the rug. And that's kind of when stuff got a little bit complicated between us, more than before, because I don't know, we were both discovering a lot about ourselves. We're also in individual therapy, so all of that plus couples therapy started to feel like over therapized. I don't know if that makes sense, but so yeah, regarding couples therapy, when we got to 49, we both decided to have the conversation. I think you initiated it, about your thoughts and vulnerable feelings about how you felt about couples therapy in that moment. And this was like maybe a few months ago, right? Like
yeah, I think
earlier this year.
It's crazy to think. Yeah, I messaged you on WhatsApp. We have like a WhatsApp chat for like the two of us. And yeah, I just shared with you that I felt that it wasn't serving me anymore. Like I didn't want to speak about it on both of us, but we had been having some fights or arguments that I felt like were happening just because we weren't taking ownership of our shit, because we were like, oh yeah, it's fine, like we'll just like deal with it later, like you said. So yeah, I was feeling like, I'm like, oh my God, like I can't hear advice from another person about this other thing. Like when we are having really good days, like I feel like we're putting in the effort to have those really good days, and then when there's like one small little rock, we make it into a big thing because we happen to have help. And I feel like, yeah, it's kind of like when you don't have anybody to help you with your house. Like you want to be more mindful about like sweeping a little bit every day instead of letting like all the leaves like just pile up. But it was kind of like we were having therapy and couples therapy and personal therapy and this and that. And also we were going to ceramics, and you started going to the taller again, and you came back from Jamaica, and like I was like, oh my God, like it was just like there was just a lot of things. And like we're finally kind of getting in a groove with the business, and we also like had a big project, and I was like, oh my God, like it's like I get to work on Monday, and then on Tuesday I have like I have couples therapy, and then on Thursday I have like personal therapy. And I was like, guys, like I need at least like 3 days with like where I am like taking care of my own mental health, and I'm not receiving input from anybody, and I'm not having to like recuperate so much energy because it just felt like there was just so much input from so many outsiders that you just need to like munch on your own.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's what was beautiful about then pausing therapy.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say everything you said, +1 +2 +3. What we had mentioned was that we started to use our couples therapy sessions as a crutch versus actually taking the tools that we've learned to apply them. And that's why, as you mentioned, we decided to make that pause with couples therapy. And we sent a nice professional email, grateful email to our couples therapist. And yeah, we ended it temporarily. We don't think that anything is a constant, and we just needed a break. Doesn't mean that we don't, do couples therapy again. But right
We
now,
actually just said, let's have a session, a 50th session
uh-huh.
in like mid-September.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
To check in.
I think it's just, like that catch up.
Exactly.
So I think that's what I want to say about couples therapy. I think that even looking back at that episode that we recorded on couples therapy, like it was so, it definitely was like the fire extinguisher that we needed for all the fires we were creating, because we had no tools, and we didn't understand that we needed to reparent ourselves and not each other, and like that we had our own shit going on, and like it wasn't about the other person, and like stop making everything personal by like for both of us. And just like taking a chill pill and like not taking everything so seriously. Go ahead.
Yeah, and absolutely what you said. And I think something that we both were really smart about is that this wasn't like a cold turkey type of thing where we just stop and then there's nothing. We took a pause and we decided to use that time that we do have for scheduled for couples therapy, make our best efforts to do something together within that time as our couples therapy sessions, whether it's going out to nature, whether it's going on a date, a lunch date, whether it's doing something new together, going to the movies. Exactly. Not just getting rid of that time, but actually keeping that time to do something together, because that at the end of the day, that could be a couples therapy session,
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we learn in couples therapy, right? It's
exactly.
Like to make things meaningful and make things intentional. And that's what we learned in therapy overall. But just, I think, making our relationship decisions being very intentional, and making all of our other kind of hats that we wear in our life also be intentional, and not try and just like demonstrate our love with like acts of service that are literally like part of our day to day, but making meaningful acts of service or making meaningful whatever that love language is for you.
Totally.
And I think that's really nice. But yeah, I think couples therapy was definitely like the fire extinguisher that we needed at the moment, and it helped. I think it saved our relationship, not because we were like, I think at some point I did think like, oh my God, like, are we actually going to make this? Like, did Take Three break us forever? And I think there was a lot of darkness at a lot of points. And I am just so happy that we asked for help, and we put time and effort, and we took a break with our business, and we took a break from posting on social media, and we took a break from just doing shit that we thought was important that really was not, because at the end of the day, if you and I are not okay, none of it matters. Like Guillermo doesn't have parents, like our house doesn't matter, like nothing matters, and I'm not making it in a way where it's like, oh, like life is over, and but really, like, there's no point. So yeah, I think that's nice of couples therapy. So the next question or topic that I want us to talk about is regarding our work relationship in that theme, and it's quitting working for content, and I'm saying content in like air quotes. How do we approach sales content versus day-to-day versus real-time content versus planned? And I want to just say this. So what I want us to think about this in this prompt is how before there was something you said on your birthday that really like kind of stuck to me when someone asked us about what is different between how we approach the Take Three Studio on Instagram versus how we approach it now. And I said, like, for me, it's just boundaries. So for me, I would say that before we used to work to create content, and we thought that really that something in there was some sort of like hierarchy or some sort of like status that we had to maintain within the Instagram life and realm, and we put so many eggs into that basket that it was beautiful, yes, but it was also exhausting and stupid, because we were really working for content that I don't know, that is so instantaneous. Yeah. So I do want to talk about it regarding like the Instagram realm, and just how how do you approach it now? Like, what are some
Mm-hmm.
lessons that you've taken from the years, and how do you approach it now and at like the fourth year?
Yeah.
Like the content creation, the, I don't know, like the pillars and
Mm-hmm.
the strategies and the marketings of it all, and
Yeah.
life, you know, and understanding where social media is also in today.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the prompt.
Yeah. I This is such an interesting question and topic because there's so many different random thoughts that make sense and also connect with each other that's going on in my head right now. I think, but I want to start with, again, in terms of, what we talk about for Instagram, it's our own personal experience. We know that some people depend solely on Instagram for their business, it's their life, etc. That's how they make money. Totally makes sense. Other people, they're not. And again, this is just our personal experience with it. I think I think two overarching points is that the first one is, in terms of a relationship with Instagram now versus before, I think before we were trying so hard to keep up, always keeping up, always trying to catch up, always trying to match something that is trending. Someone else is doing this, so we have to keep up with that. Versus now, I know you love to watch Keeping Up with Kardashians, but we no longer need to keep up with anything, There's not that pressure anymore for us that I think subconsciously added stress to our personal relationship.
And you can talk on your own as well, like about like,
Yeah.
you don't have to talk about it for
Right.
us on our end,
Right,
because
right,
I think
right.
that, yes, like
For-
that's
yeah.
totally true, but I never really stopped, right? Like I continued posting about the podcast, I continued producing content, I continued producing emails, I continued producing all of these things. Like I continued to create content internally for Take 3 this whole time. Versus you really stopped. Like you took a conscious like pause into like, I don't want to do this type of content anymore, whether that was the audio, whether that was like video, whether that was like posting carousels, posting whatever it was. Like you were like, I feel no desire. You were like, I feel no drive, I feel no desire. You don't show up on stories. Like, it's different. Like it's a very different way that we both interact with the app. And you were playing like PlayStation a lot, like you were like creating this niche community that you have now, and like FIFA, YouTubes, and whatever. So I just want us to talk about how does that relationship now has changed when we've stopped working to create content, right? We quit that. Like we're no longer like, or let's say you quit creating content as like a job, let's say. And then you started transitioning into like what we do now, which is like, okay, there's content that needs to be created that is for sales. Okay, there's content that needs to be created because it makes us happy and it takes no time. And there's content that needs to be created because it's part of our portfolio and it showcases our brand advisors and like our advisorships and mentorships, and like it showcases our web design skills and all of this stuff. So I want you to talk about that transition a little bit, about like now looking back about how you did that transition, like where you like dropped it all. And I don't think that you've ever thought about this necessarily. Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to poke your brain on that because I know that you really did have like a transition, especially with that relationship,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I think you're right. I never actually sat down to do a retrospective on how my relationship with Instagram or just creating content before versus now. And I don't know, I feel like right now I don't feel that pressure, or I don't feel like it's going to be life or death if I don't post today. It's a little bit of what I mentioned about trying to keep up. I think personally for me, I'm always trying to keep up as part of my personality because I don't want to get left behind, etc. So I've applied some of that to our business where, if I'm in charge of creating content, I put a lot of pressure on myself to, okay, I have to do this. So it's in the calendar. I got to put it into this thing. I have to make it into my Kanban board on Notion. And then I just have to get this done, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of pressure. Now the relationship is not about pressure. It's more about, okay, understanding what my capacity is per week to create content, understanding what type of content I can commit to or that I have to commit to, just from a business standpoint, not emotional. You know, we have our uni sales, our Take the Uni community. We want to, you know, get those annual memberships. So I know that that's an objective from a business side. And okay, I don't need to be emotional about it. I just need to create X amount of content. This is what I can commit to. It's more intentional, more meaningful versus just trying to throw a lot of darts in the dark.
Personal, you know? And emotional.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's one of the biggest relationship changes with Instagram, because I don't feel that, like, I don't know, like I'm failing if I'm not posting. You know, I still have that, oh, I really want to post this today feeling. I think that's normal. But then when I don't post, I don't feel like, Jesus, like, again, I didn't do this. It's more like, okay, I'll just, you know, I'll post this meme that I created a week and a half ago. I'll just post it, you know, today, yesterday, you know? And I think that that's fine, you know, because at the end of the day, when you post something, it's done, and then you're like, okay, then what next? So if you don't post something, it's like, okay, what next? Same thing, you know, same result in a way. So that's my relationship change, or that mind shift change that I currently have with content creation on
and
Instagram.
Would you say that you're? Would you say that you, like, what would you like to? Would you say that you would like to be on Instagram, like, forever, or you'd like to transition content, like, now as we're talking internally and we know that we want to go into YouTube and you want to go into more long form, like, content, not necessarily like creating tres tips into how to do something for 25 minutes, not at all by any means, but like resurface some of those, like, lots of that travel content that we have, and it's been, you know, organized and whatever. Like, how do you envision your relationship just overall with social media, I guess, evolving now that your wants are also evolving with it?
Yeah.
Like, how do you see it as an ecosystem?
I think we talk about this all the time. There's so many different seasons that happen in a year as a creative, right? I think the season that I'm currently in right now is actually more long form content. I've been consuming YouTube, you know, all my life. Not like, you know, 24 hours on a day like you sometimes, but I do consume a lot of YouTube content. And I realized, like, wow, I'm actually sitting here consuming a 20-minute video, and I didn't get bored. I didn't, you know, continue to scroll or anything like that. So the season I'm in right now is creating meaningful long form content that shares some type of story, like you know, visually or, you know, verbally. I don't know, but I think that the season I'm in is creating these long form content that could live on YouTube, or that I want to be on YouTube a little bit, and explore that channel, explore what it feels like to have all of those travel content that we have stored and recorded and documented.
I know.
All of those travels. We've traveled to so many different places over the past 3 years. And
what's so beautiful is that we come from such a nostalgic place to it now that it can't not be love.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, like, I'm excited to dig up those, you know, travel content or content that we've collected by visiting different places and meeting different people, because as you said, they're all categorized and they're all in different folders and they're just sitting there. And I think that there's so much beautiful just stories within those organized folders that I want to put into a video that's 5 minutes, 10 minutes,
Yeah.
15 minutes, 20 minutes, not worrying about like, okay, I need to cut all this, to meet this 30-second, 1 minute thing to make it perform really well on Reels. And then, okay, I get some likes, I get some comments, you know, get a lot of views, blah, blah, blah. But then just nothing, you know, but it feels like I'm restricting.
You're trying to like go into a box and you're like, why do I have to go into a box again?
Yeah. And again, nothing's wrong with doing like quick shorts or
yeah, because you,
but
I think what you're trying to say is like just being more intentional about
yeah,
it.
absolutely.
You know,
yeah.
like you want to bring up content, whether that is 30 seconds, 1 minute, a meme, a long form, whatever it is that you want to create, you want it just to be more intentional, and so that it's like creating a communication channel with the person, you know, whether that is like they're seeing a meme or they're seeing a video. It's just like there's a conversation happening, like, oh my god, that's so funny, or oh my god, like I relate to that, or oh my god, that happens to me all the time, or like, oh my god, fuck these clients, you know, like I think that's what I'm getting from what you're saying.
I think that's exactly right. More meaningful and intentional. And I think you reminded me of something you said just now, reminded me of something that you reminded me of like just last week when I shared a content. I shared a specific piece of content because I felt like, okay, it's been sitting in the thing for so long. I just want to share it because, you know, blah, blah, blah. There was no like intention or meaning behind it. I just shared it. It didn't really perform. So for the next post, your feedback to me was like, you know, you put a lot of time into this. There was a specific thinking, an idea behind the reason why you created this reel. I think is really funny, but you didn't even share that or share with people why you created this thing. So you didn't give them some type of context or the intention or meaning behind it. So maybe that's why it maybe quote unquote fell flat, right? And you know, I think that's true. Like I think all of us as creatives, we create something for a specific reason. And there's no shame in sharing like, okay, like I saw these memes and it really reminded me of my birthday, blah, blah, blah. And I wanted to like, you know, it really made me laugh and it really resonated with me. So I wanted to create a Take 3 May June meme parody version of this and share it. Like, you know, this is my type of humor. This is my personality. I want people to understand that this is my type of personality, right? Yeah. So whatever the intention or meaning behind the reason why you're creating something, I think that is the big lesson here. You know, whether you want to share something on YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok or whatever, just doing it with intention, I think, is the lesson that I've learned. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. So moving on from this, but also talking about this, I listened to a Ghost of a Podcast episode that I'm actually going to do a podcast lesson about, so stay tuned, everybody. But basically she was talking about social anxiety and social media and the internet and whatever, and she did talk a little bit about, so when you're putting something on the internet, it immediately loses a little bit of that spark because you're immediately sharing it with all of these strangers, and like in the internet always things always live forever, and like there's always going to be one person whose opinions are not going to be, you know, what your intention was of posting this. And she was just talking about like how we really bring in all of these strangers into our most intimate moments and our most intimate spaces, like our bedrooms, our bathrooms, our houses. Like we're sitting in bed and we're like watching these people and we're hearing their comments and we're hearing their feedback and we're comparing ourselves. And, you know, if we weren't so raw when we're actually like consuming all of these, like maybe we wouldn't be as affected by this. And I think I'm like connecting two podcast episodes that talked about the same thing, but the point is just like, to me, it's not that before we didn't post with intention, but I think that before we posted with this thing that we wanted to let people in, and we wanted to let people in to know our creative brains, and we wanted to let people in and know about our relationship, and we wanted to let people in and know about our story and this and that, and I think for me personally on social media, it just got to the point where I was just letting too many people in, even if it was nobody. In my head, I was just risking myself too much, like putting myself at risk too much, from having deep, vulnerable conversations with people who actually mattered and who are actually in the arena with me. Because at the end of the day, I have no idea who's listening to this. Like, podcast stats are very high level, right? It's not like I can see an email that actually listened to this, just like I can see an email that read my email. So I think just being more, I think for me, it's as much as being intentional, I think it's also being intentional about where am I coming from to share this. Like, am I doing this because I want to feed my ego that it says I'm a good creative, I'm smart, I'm funny, I'm this and this? Or am I sharing this because I feel like it's part of my service to others to talk about this things, or to share how we solved a problem on a website based on these design decisions, or how we, etc., you know, whatever it is that I decide to fucking share, whether it is a podcast or not, or YouTube or an email. I think for me, I'm still gonna always dabble into multiple forevers, into multiple mediums forever. But I think for me, it's just making sure that when I'm allowing people into these channels where I am making myself very present and very vulnerable, and, you know, I'm connecting with them and I'm holding space for this specific content, that I'm also going to get that back from the people, you know? So like, I know that whoever's listening to an episode of the podcast is like taking the time to like make it really vulnerable and really intimate. Like, if you're on an Instagram, like make sure that like you're reading the caption, or if you're not reading my caption, at least I'm putting a video that's like nature and makes you feel like, oh my God, like you can just breathe, you know? Or you're looking at a creative post and you're like, wow, this is so beautiful. I want to do something that's inspirational like that. I want to do a texture like that. I don't know. So that's kind of where I'm approaching social media, and how I'm thinking about it. It's just making sure that the boundaries that I'm setting, like the reasons why I'm putting this out there, and all of that feels a little bit to who I am today and who I want to portray to others, whether it was before or in the future, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so the next things that I want to talk about a little bit are reconsidering productivity, reprioritizing our today, and thinking about today and not tomorrow. You know, I know that it's like three things, but I think they are all kind of in the same arena for us in terms of productivity, reprioritizing to like for today, and being in the today and not tomorrow or the yesterday. Personally, I've gone through really darks this past season, and now I'm finally feeling a little bit more like stable. So I'm personally just reprioritizing, making sure that my mental health is taken care of, my emotional health is taken care of, my physical health is taken care of, and then coming into the business to being like that quote that I posted on your phone, like, have I rested enough to create my most meaningful and creative work? But also, am I being disciplined enough also to show up for something that I know will make me happy, and will fill me with love. But I think with that comes reprioritizing our life and our where we put the eggs into the baskets, you know? Yeah, and for me, that's making Sundays like also a blessed day where I YouTube and I recharge, for example. So yeah, you tell me about what are some of those things that come to your mind when we talk about those.
Oh wow. Thanks for sharing yours. I think I want to start my thoughts off with by piggybacking off of the quote you shared with me, actually. You know me, you've known me for
12
since
years.
2011. You know me for a while, and you know that I
Oh my God, August is 12 years.
Yeah,
August 22nd.
The 22nd, yeah.
It's August 15.
Will be 12 years. You know that I quite hard on myself as a person. I'm always expecting a lot out of myself, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to excel and perform and blah blah blah, right? You know, that's where that came from. It's another story. But I'm still working on trying to get better at being able to rest without feeling guilty. That just happened very recently, and even yesterday or this morning, I was like, oh yeah, I could have done more last night or blah blah. I still have that, like, I still go there with myself, so that's something I'm working on. So in terms of productivity, in terms of like prioritization and what today means, and reimagining our business, that's something that I'm currently like processing and just working out on my own. But I know that I'm a little bit better at and working on still, because it's a progress. Just resting and not feeling guilty about it. The quote you shared with me about, instead of saying, did I do enough work to rest today? I should start telling myself and asking myself, have I rested enough to do more meaningful work today? And that
my most meaningful
work, yeah. It wasn't verbatim, but that's my takeaway from it is, every day, like, how am I feeling, and do I feel rested enough to do this specific task? If yes, let's push through and be disciplined about it, like I did yesterday. I rested a lot over the weekend, literally, like, you lounged around watching YouTube. I also lounged around. I did puzzles and I recharged myself,
Watched Gossip Girl XO.
We watched Gossip Girl together. So we spent time together as well, but also spent time alone. So I think I recharged a lot. And then yesterday I asked myself.
And it was miraculous.
What was that?
I slept in the couch and it was miraculous.
You did for 2 nights in a row. I love it. And yeah, yesterday I rested a lot. So I rested enough. That was the first question. Second one was, hey, am I ready to do some meaningful work today? And answer was yes. So I try my best to be disciplined about it, but not pressure myself or feel bad for not finishing it on time. I did sleep at 4:30.
Wow, 4:30?
I slept at 4:30 in the morning, but I had 2 coffees and I felt like I was able to power through. Yeah. And I wanted to power through with intention.
I did a workout at 11 p.m.
What was that?
I did a workout at 11 p.m.
Yeah, you did. So I think we just rested a lot and we were able to do more work, and that was great. And I think that is how I'm like kind of positioning myself emotionally, mentally, and physically when it comes down to productivity and to-do lists for today and re-envisioning today and what that means like. And again, you mentioned something about, like, it's okay, it's not the end of the world, like, you're doing your best, and you give me those reminders that is very helpful, and I know that I do the same for you when you feel like you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself. So we're there for each other, which is really nice. So productivity for me right now doesn't mean like, I don't know, like, okay, I have all these things. I'm going to jam pack everything into one day and try to get as much done as possible, because when I'm done with all these things, I'm going to feel so much better, Maybe it's true, but at the end of the day, you need to be realistic on what you can actually take on. And that's something that I'm learning to do regarding productivity is, okay, realistically, Meijun, you, like, what can you finish today? And then just going there today, and then tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow we fight again, we try again tomorrow. And that's how I think that's how I'm currently feeling. That's the season I'm in regarding productivity and getting things done. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so the next kind of topic that connecting to this is the idea of how we are like taking on reshaping a little bit of our service offerings, like going back to the Major and the Estefi that created Take 3, but also like honoring the new versions that we are right now and the new versions that we will continue to be. And also, I think that now that we've been working on ourselves and that we've been working on our relationship and our business, etc., we know that, like you said, it's all about seasons and like client seasons, the type of clients, and also the type of products that you have. And also we've had to have a lot of like, I think, very honest conversations about what is it that we really want to be doing with Take 3 and no longer utilizing just like our titles as a crutch a little bit. And I think we just had this really big conversation on Monday, and connecting it back to the couples therapy. I just want to like, you know, do a little like clap for our therapist and ourselves, because we were able to have a very deep and difficult conversation without realizing speed walking outside for an hour.
It was supposed to be a 3-minute walk.
Yeah, we
Turned
were
into an
just like,
hour.
yeah, literally it turned into a whole hour, and we were like speed walking, like my feet hurt after.
In the dark at
In the
9 at night. She was just walking around the complex. Like, it was like we're scoping out each people's house or something.
Yeah, it was weird. But basically, I just want to like just thank ourselves for being able to make space and a safe space for us to talk about what is it that we really want to do, and our dreams and our possibilities, and also the things that we are just ready to let go of, the things that we're ready to jump into, continue to, I don't know, just connect with each other to really see where we want to be and where we want to go. So I think I ranted a lot, but the point is I just want us to talk a little bit about this season that we're going, I personally feel like it's kind of going back into, because I feel like there's a really big little part of me and like the Major and Estefi that came here that have been like cheering us on to like finally feel enough to be here and to make it as if their dreams really mattered a little bit. And I just see like those papers behind you in our door that we wrote in like 2019, and I just feel like everything is like happening and connecting, and I feel really good about where we're going, even though we've had to have really hard conversations, not only with clients, existing clients, future clients that we're conversating with without them even existing. But yeah, so I just want you to talk a little bit about that and whatever comes to your mind regarding that topic.
Yeah, absolutely. My mind is still processing our conversation yesterday on Monday, August 14, on just being...
Yeah, it was just yesterday.
Yeah, it was, on being open, vulnerable, and honest about the season we are individually in when it comes down to what we want to do, what we enjoy waking up doing right now, what do we want to do with our business right now this season. And I think it was a little bit like we kind of went all over the park with our thoughts, but then at the end of the day we got back to being really real about, you know, where we see ourselves in, like, for the remaining of the year to next year. And I think that the season that I'm currently in with this specific topic,
you can just call it like service offerings.
Literally,
that's what I put in my bullet
professional
point.
service offerings.
You
Just
know,
kidding.
like mentorship, brand advisor, the community, like brand development, web design, like all of that.
I think right now I shared that I wanted to tap back into the May June that loved traveling, documenting travels, putting those into visual stories and sharing that. I think I'm really craving that, craving meeting people, doing something different. And actually, you know, the dream is to be able to make some type of income from that, you know. But I know that's, you know, could be in the future, but that's something that I'm really into right now. That's one thing. The other thing, I know that May June is a very good creative problem solver, and that's been something that I pride myself with. Creative problem solving and with coming up with ideas and executing ideas, and whether that is, you know, being an advisor for brands by being their like creative communications idea officer, or giving people feedback on ideas, or generating ideas for people, or that's something that I'm also really craving, you know. And I think that's that's something that I'm really into right now, and that has nothing to do with like website design, or nothing to do with like, you know, even brand development, you know. But that doesn't mean like I don't want to do those things anymore. It's just right now I don't feel like I want to hold space for that right now. You know, right now I want to, as I mentioned with the YouTube content, tap into all of our content and look at all the places that we've went to and reminisce on that, and then put that into like a beautiful like thing that I want to share with the world, because I think that it will add value in that way by not only like showing all the places that we've been, but like letting people see these places through our eyes, and maybe being inspired to visit those places and go out more, and know that Ecuador isn't like, you know, it's more than what you see on the news. You know, it's nature. It's like mountains, beach, like volcanoes, like everything. And we've been to a lot of those places, but we haven't really shared them on a grand scale in this way. What I mentioned about, like, you know, all those things that we've documented, like I want to put them together and put
just
them out
make
there.
one video with like,
instead of like putting it into like the 30-second thing where people can't really enjoy,
and you can never even go back to it. You even forget you made it.
I know.
I still think about that ant video you made from Sacha Lodge, and I'm like, I want to see that every single day. Like,
and that was,
and I'm like, how do I even
30
get
seconds.
there? And it's like 100 million square blocks away on Instagram.
And we have so much more content on that too. But yeah, so my point is, that's kind of what I'm craving right now creatively, as a creative output. You know, as creative people, we have a lot of creative outputs and also inputs. And this is I think the creative output that I'm kind of craving, and creative output that I could, you know, if I'm dreaming, is I want to potentially do for a living and get paid for it, to actually make a living from it, so I can, you know, get some return on that. And that could be a dream job, you know.
Yeah, and I feel like we need to like other people talk about their dream jobs as if like they're happening, you know. It's like part of their manifestation techniques. And I feel like this is a possibility. I think the more we pour into our in-house projects, the more that we'll be able to receive for our in-house, like, you know, things that we're putting out, our podcast, our YouTube, you know, our email, our blogs, like going back to like the ethos of like putting in a house for ourselves and not just creating a bunch of doors for anybody and everybody's dream. But I think part of that dream for me as well is creating a space to have people come in and ask questions and be vulnerable and ask for mentorship advice and ask for questions and continue to build beautiful websites. So for me, I think it's really nice that I am feeling like I am in the season, and I think I've been in the season since we created Take 3 Uni. Honestly, it's like my most favorite thing in the whole wide fucking world, and I don't mean it in the way that it's like it's the most successful thing and we have 100 million people and it's so good. No, I just mean that I actually feel like my juices, like all my best juices, are being used to like impact somebody else's like creativity, decision making. Like we're like actually like actively in the ground playing with people, you know. It's like you feel like you're like actually playing with people, and I love that. And I love that we created that in the community. I personally love creating content on there. I love that we're going to start doing more like of the video projects that we have for the community. I will 100% always forever believe in that project. And I'm also, you know, loving making websites. I definitely want to do more like just cold pitching some of my favorite brands that I actually want to work with and have really shitty Squarespace websites. And I want to be like, hey, I am obsessed with you. I've been obsessed with you for 10 years. I think I want to do this with your website, and this is how much it's going to cost you. And you and I are going to be best friends, and I love you. And let's make magic together.
Yeah. It's like being more intentional. Going back to the word of intentional and meaning, being, you know, meaningfully doing something is actually cool, like intentionally cold contacting people that inspire us, that we want to work with. Yeah, exactly. And, that we can see like us really creating an impact with, and like, you know, not a client just comes to our thing and they want a logo or they want a name, and
whatever, you just like make it happen. It's like, no, bitch, like this is my life. Like this is not like a creative studio agency. Like go work with McCann, like go work with somebody else. Like this is gonna be good, you know. Like we don't need to work together. So I think that's the season that I'm in. I also just want to thank Major and Estefi from the past for making money and for us learning to save, so like to live like a small lifestyle, even though now we're going to travel more, so expenses are coming, so that's why we're working on our products. But I just want to thank ourselves for being mindful and responsible adults about it, and about the joint money that we've created with Take Three, because it's giving us opportunities to play with our own in-house projects right now, while keeping a low profile.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's what I want to say about this. It's in-house project season, and we're happy to be here, and we're happy to finally take this plunge to believe in ourselves for reals.
Yeah. And the community season, Take the Uni community, a beautiful space for entrepreneurs.
And our advice library is coming. Major is done with one of our little like catalogs,
and we have 15 members. High five.
Oh, you know, high five.
15 members in total, and
we welcomed
awesome.
A new member this week. We have the doors for the community are open till September 30th. If you've been like wondering and you've wanted to like maybe pick our brains and ask for some advice, like you've been thinking that you're ready to sell some of your creative products online, and I don't know, share your story. Maybe you have like a little emprendimiento or like a little entrepreneurship, and you've been feeling alone, you want a little boost. I think the community is a really beautiful safe space for you. And this month we're gonna do a live Q&A that's around the Barbie movie. Major and I are gonna go on a date, the date what we just talked about. I already watched it, Major hasn't watched it, and I'm gonna go to the theater with a notebook. So I'm gonna write stuff down, and I'm gonna create like a fun topic for the live Q&A. It's not gonna be like just the Barbie movie, but like a thought of that, and we're gonna open it to the public. So
it's exciting.
Stay tuned for that. I'm gonna like message people if they wanted to talk to me about Barbie, but if you're listening to this and you want to be part, just raise your hand. But yeah, that's the community, and that's what I want to say about just how we're reshaping a little bit of these offerings, and we're excited to launch the new website as well, launch these products. Everything is on the way, and I feel like we're in the horse.
And to end that thought, I think something that I want to share is that we've spent a lot of time over the past 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, how much ever years, or how many ever years, trying to help other people's dream come true. And I think that that's totally something that we're very passionate about, with our community, by giving advice, working with clients to help them, have their best digital experience or brand. But we never actually took the time to really intentionally take the time to potentially make our own dreams come true. And I think part of that is because we didn't really talk about I didn't really share what my dream is.
And I think that back then we were working on the dream. We were both actively working on the blog. We were both but things just shifted, and things changed, and we worked with clients, and it was great. And that was that season. So I don't think that I think that we were scared, as I said to you yesterday. I think we are too scared to take the leap on our own things, because we're like attaching ourselves to like, I am an art director, or I am a graphic designer, or I am a web designer, or I am a this, that's what should be what we're known for. But we're so much more than creative that. Human beings. We're just creative human beings. Like that. I want to I don't want to be bound by all of these things, and and at the same time I want to find freedom within the boundaries of the season that I'm in at the moment.
Right.
Which is not making your logo, which is developing I think we can say it in the podcast. I think it's fine. Developing recipes for our little recipe guides, and developing videos and our actual content for our advice library, and actually developing coming up with content for a new website, and doing all of that normally I would be doing for a client, but doing it for ourselves.
Now we're just finding that balance, getting that creative equilibrium.
Yeah, and I think that we're in like, I think that we just went really far on one side of the pendulum, and right now we're just trying to go all the way to the other side of the pendulum just to see it, so that we can find a middle on the pendulum.
That's a good analogy.
What I'm assuming will be like, I don't know, maybe like we can do another podcast in August next year and see where we're at. But like, I think for me, the dream looks like, with me working on like, you know, Katie Jane Hughes and Cara Duvall, and like, you know, going hardcore and like maybe working on Jen Atkins' website, you know, and just like finding people that I'm building really badass websites, especially if they're women, or like I don't know, like
giving back or making an impact.
Whatever, like making an impact, and doing that with my website design skills. But I'm also like 100% seeing myself just like being so happy in the community, and like doing like mentorship sessions, and like also posting content, and like posting things in our home, and like recording recipes, and Meijun's kitchen, and like Steffi's this. Like I remember like all of these have been ideas that I remember we talked about in COVID, and we just wanted to do everything right then and there, and it was like and it was just like we exploded, like boom. And we couldn't do anything, and we were like, let's just go back, like let's just work for clients, that's the easiest way out. And once we found ourselves there, we were like, no, like what are we doing, you know? So now it's like we're finally tapping into those things that back in the day were like,
we're going back to those other creative outlets.
Because I remember when we did Friends Fest, like, and it was like 10-12 brands that I had hand selected, and had like literally I had developed connections with, you and I, but especially with some of them, it was mostly my relationship with them. And they were like, wow, Estefi, like you're like the best salesperson for all our products, and you're the only one that doesn't have a product. And I remember how hard that was for me.
Yeah.
And I felt like the biggest like failure in my life. And I felt up until now that we're both, I think, in the same page. I had felt like I let myself down, and I failed myself, and I failed that version of myself. And I think now that we're allowing ourselves to process that, and to like actually try and not just be afraid, and to like follow the Take 3 lifestyle of like doing things scared but just doing them.
Meaningful creative life.
Living a meaningful creative life, like creating a roof for all of our creative ideas to be okay, and to be able to exist, even if it's just for 1 week, just like Patreon, you know. Like sometimes we say like, oh, we don't want to make something like Patreon, but what we created there was magic. Like everything we created there was pure magic, and I don't think that it was wrong. I just think that it lived in that moment, and it taught us so much. Like Take 3 Vitamins on Instagram, like the subtitles, and I remember like hours and hours on end hand translating subtitles, and now you have things like CapCut who like do it in a second, you know. Like, so I just think that everything in the path leads you to somewhere, and we're exactly where we're meant to be. And like now we just know that we have nothing to prove, not to anybody else, even not to ourselves, because my ego has nothing that it wants me to prove to it, you know. Because I am enough, and I'm trying my best just by living. Whatever. Preach.
And that concludes today's episode.
But yeah, really, I think that's really kind of the end of the episode. I do want to talk a little bit about some of the mental health practices that we've incorporated into our personal lives, or like love relationship, and also mental health practices that we've established at work that have helped. Personally, I just want to share mine quickly. For work, it's been really working in the office for me. Like I feel like when I heard that from Jay Shetty, which was like places have energy, and like remember that, I really like kind of take that seriously in a way. Like, and with my personal life is where I meditate, and that little corner where I feel like things really flow, like not making myself ashamed that I'm not working in the room that I made myself to work out, because that's where I feel that energy lives. So allowing myself to really be mindful about where I'm working, I think that's been, or where I'm at to perform whatever action I'm doing. I think it's been really important, and something that I've really actively applied, even if it's like I want to sleep in the couch and I want to be in the couch and this makes me feel like I'm recharging, being honest with that and not just walking to the bed because that's the normal thing couples do. You know, like there's nothing wrong with sleeping in the couch because you're watching TV and you just like feel like being in a comforter and a pillow. So not guilt tripping myself and being honoring the places that I'm at for the actions. Again, being more intentional.
Love that.
And I think the other thing would be going to nature, doing nature baths. I love my park so much. So yeah, and doing silent walks. I think that's really imperative for me.
I love that.
Singing and dancing have been really great también. But that's it. And what about you? What are some of the techniques or tools or things that you find yourself gravitating towards?
For me, on the
one thing, Insight Timer, the app. It's been key.
Yeah, you actually love that.
Yes, look at the description. I'll put a link.
So for me personally, on my personal side, I've been finding a lot of zen and just creative, like, I don't know, energy, or it fills my cup when I'm doing like ceramics, you know, my once a week ceramics, almost like a ritual, being able to create and make something out of my hand, getting my hands dirty. And literally when I'm in that space of doing ceramics, I don't think of anything else. And the only thing close to that was table tennis. I also took table tennis on in July, where I was coaching a 12-year-old kid, you know, and that was beautiful to do as well, because that is another part of my brain that I'm exercising, that just like ceramics makes me not think of anything else. And I think that's very important as people, individuals, as creative people, to have that type of outlet to lean onto, so that you can get a break from your like job or, you know, the responsibilities, you know, kind of like children, you know, when you're there, only thing when I'm at table tennis, only thing I have to worry about is table tennis. When I'm at ceramics, only thing I have to worry about is this piece that I'm making. So I think that from the personal side has been really nice for me. From the business side, something that has been working really well for me is similar to yours, is being honoring where I want to work today. So like Monday, I worked half of the time in the studio. Then I feel like I want to change it up. I want to go into the living room, like kind of spread out a little bit and just work on the dining table. And I did that. And I remember on Wednesdays, I have my ceramics day. So in the morning, it's a great time for me to work outside. You know, that's something that I, you know, implemented a little bit, not as a rule, but if I'm feeling like it on that Wednesday, I know that I can do that. So I think,
or if you have any personal errands or any personal things that you want to do.
I cutting my hair, I take advantage of that. I go to the place, there's a coffee shop by where I cut my hair, and I go to the coffee shop to work, then cut my hair, then go back to work at the coffee shop. So I think that has been working really well for me in terms of work. And last night, I think that I worked like nonstop from like, I think 12:30 to 4:30, you know, in the morning, in that space, and it was working for me, and I didn't feel tired, and I didn't feel like, oh my god, what am I doing here, you know? So I think that's something that has worked really well for me. And the last thing I think from a business side is being honest about what I can actually take on that day. And I know that in the calendar there are things there that I need to organize, because there are like 3 things at one time on Wednesday, I think. But you know, I'm taking things day at a time. So tomorrow I'm gonna look at that and be like, okay, what do I feel like working on today? I'm gonna work on this. I'm gonna move this to another day. But I know that that's there for me. So that's kind of been working for me. From the business side. And
hasn't been working for me though. I'm like, I will see those tasks rolling and rolling and rolling. Just kidding.
I know. And yeah, just resting so that we can actually do meaningful work. I think that's my main takeaway. Yeah, personal and business.
Yeah. I think that definitely honoring what is it that you're able to do today. Before, I used to be really strict with like, this is in my calendar, this is what I need to do. Like it's like it's now or never. And now I'm like, okay, let me take on the Friday task for today and do that on Friday. But I think definitely like not making myself feel like the worst person in the earth if I don't get to a task. I think it's really important.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I think the last ones, and I just want to do a little time check. We're like at an hour and 4 minutes.
Ooh, okay.
And there's no editing that really is gonna go into this episode, like cutting, because I promised myself I would do that, because then I want to try. Then I like go into like trying to control like the version I want you to hear of us, and it doesn't work for our relationship.
Just keep it raw.
Yes, keep it raw. So I just want to talk a little bit about codependence between us, even with Guillermo, like just codependence in general. Also talk about our home and setting roots and how that has helped us or changed us and impacted us. And I think the last one would be how in the past, I think year, we've done a huge work on like, well, I think for you 4 years, but really understanding each other's cultures and how that has impacted us. I think for me, it really like the gate really opened really like clearly when I went to Jamaica and I spent that time with your family, and like I was living with them and they came to my house and I had to like explain my culture and explain the differences and explain, you know. So I think a lot of these things have made it really clear, and I think this has affected, and I think healed some of that codependence that I personally like had grown to have, understanding more of your culture, understanding more of your things, and a lot, also understanding your people pleasing and not taking that as love, but taking that as like, oh no, like he's people pleasing me. Just like I think overall this year has been really cathartic in that, in like the setting roots, the finding groove in our house, like making spaces actually feel like those spaces, living in there, like understanding how the light comes in, where the water comes in, like how to change the gas, like how to cook, like, you know, like I just feel like this past year has been a lot of like settling, you know, and like those roots like are really like in there, like sinking in. And it was all, and I want you to talk about that.
It was a process. I remember
and it is still a process. Every life is a process.
It's always going to be a process, but it has been a process to get here where we are right now. I remember when it was just the pandemic, when it hit for the first time, we were at our third Airbnb. We did not know where to get, you know, groceries, where to get like this, or to pay this, what to do here, blah blah. And now you
didn't even know the language.
I didn't even know how to, like, you know, do a lot of things on my own because my Spanish was not that good. Now I'm a lot better. But I think that it was just being here physically and putting ourselves out there and just learning and being open-minded and also struggling at the same time, and just going through all of that process, which is, I think, super natural, like super like natural.
It's also supernatural.
It's also supernatural.
It's like, it's an insane thing.
Yeah, to go through, to be able to like feel rooted, you know. I think, I don't know, like for me specifically, the main thing that made me feel like I didn't feel as rooted, not necessarily culturally, because I feel like I've moved a lot growing up, so I was able to really adapt really well, like a chameleon to any culture, and fit in that way from a cultural standpoint. So I think the biggest thing for me was the language barrier. That made me feel not enough. That made me feel left out. That made me feel like I didn't really belong. Now I understand more and can speak more and etc. and communicate more. It has helped me to feel more grounded, feel more rooted here in Ecuador, and in our home, and just in general, you know. So I think that for me, that has been a big thing, the language, which has helped me be more understanding and more knowledgeable of your culture here. Not necessarily like just Quito culture, but your culture with your family, right? Like directly. And that has helped me to be more understanding, compassionate, to be a better partner for you in a way that you needed versus what I thought you needed, you know, so we're able to communicate a lot better and feel more rooted in that way as individuals and as a couple. You know, I think that was very important, because before you left me out of the dark, you left me in the dark for a lot of things culturally, because you didn't want to like overwhelm me or blah blah blah, whatever
Well, and
reasons.
also like I think when you immigrate and you go somewhere and you understand this, like you go to New York and you start recreating different things about yourself, and there are things that you kind of met. Like why do we have to go into that when you're clearly not there or not going to be there, or you've like your mental health has quite literally, like your brain has quite literally eaten that up so that you don't see it or feel it or hear it, and then boom, all of a sudden all of this is out here. And sometimes I look back and I'm like, holy shit, like I vomited all of these things onto Mei June, and it's not like I meant to not say them before. They just didn't exist in the part of the brain where I could actually then communicate them or verbalize them.
It wasn't the time and the place.
I don't think I had the skills. Like I don't think my brain actually had the space or like, you know, the reason to go there. And when I came here, I was made to, because my brain was literally like, wait, what I'm feeling right now, is this a panic attack? Is it an anxiety attack? Is this a memory? Or is this like real life? Like, wait, we're in front of like the biggest ones of our triggers. Or like, wait, we're like in the places where you're having physical like trauma reactions and you're having physical like memories, like your body, the smells, the body, the smells, like like the words, the conversations you feel in your head. Like if anybody's ever gone through, I think even if it's just moving without having like massive big T trauma or little T trauma, like when you go from like the movie theater you used to go in your high school and then you go back as an adult, you're like, oh my God, like I remember that one time I did this one thing here, and all of a sudden all of these things are coming back to you, and you can't not speak them, or you can't not explain it to them, because then people are like, why are you not, like, how am I supposed to get to know you, you know? So I think a lot of me bringing these things to the light wasn't necessarily like, oh, let me do this for our relationship or for our life or for setting roots. It was just like, actually, it was fucking survival, and you were the only person I could trust. You know? That's what then created that codependence.
Makes sense, yeah.
Because it created the only safe space I could build. Right. And then when you left to Jamaica for a month, or less than a month, it was like it was literally like, oh my gosh, like, this is your house, this is where you live, these are the things that you are now, like this is the reality of it all, and these are your plants, and your plant is alive, and now it has flowers, and now I am the plant, you know, like, you know, it's just, I think it's insane.
Wow. Yeah.
So I think it like even past the language, I think the fact that you went back to Jamaica and you spent that time with your parents, and you had your parents here, and your parents, they were the first time your parents were like, had sat to watch TV for like 14 hours. Like they pulled the Estefi, you know, like they didn't get off the couch. I think it was the first time they had like eaten in front of the couch, and the meal had to be cooked for them. Right. Like the meal hadn't been cooked by them. Like, you understand? Like there was like key moments in our life in the past year that have like shown us like little glimmers of like root setting and like maturing and like transforming into adults. You just turned 32 years old. Like, you know, like we met when you were 20. I was 17 years old. Like, you understand that? 17. I was a teenager. Like, it's insane the amount of like steps we've taken in our relationship, and the trust between us, and feeling safe, and creating safe spaces, and understanding our inner children, and making spaces for all those versions of ourselves. And yeah, like you say, it's like, it's been a process, man.
It's been a process,
and it is continuing. It always will be. Like, you know, there's no like end. The only end is death. Yeah. Right. I mean, there's an end to our relationships, an end to our works, or end to, I don't know, the climate, and how we're all going to die because of climate boiling.
Okay.
But
So go
global
there.
boiling. But like
Yeah.
that's the only end. Does that make sense? I think like the whole idea is that we're just all walking. And I think
Yeah.
that's how we've reprioritized our brain into
Mhm.
today is the day that we're living and tomorrow is not granted. Tomorrow
Mhm.
we'll deal with tomorrow and the day after tomorrow we'll deal with the day after tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because before we had like plans and plans and plans and thoughts and all of this, and then
They
the
usually
world
not follow that
no,
usually
the
falls
world
through.
closed up.
Yeah.
Like everything fucking
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
Like everything. Like we were talking about this yesterday. Like we wanted to travel and do all of these things and do all this content and be in our car and do all of our shit, but we literally could not do that. So like we can't even be angry at ourselves that
Not
we
at all.
didn't go through with any of our dreams
Mhm.
because it was physically fucking possible.
Mhm.
Like, what was I going to give you? A tour from me walking from like one side of the apartment to the toilet? Like, no,
Yeah,
So, whatever. I think I've ranted and I've rambled ahorita. But is there anything else that you want to share, like in terms of like culture and anything else you've learned or anything that you're excited to continue to learn more in the next year, or something that you're excited to see how it comes out? Anything that you want to share to close out the episode on your end?
I think that to close out, I just wanted to share that I'm very excited for the fact that we are actually both on the same page now to make or take a chance at our dream, to focus on a lot of our in-house projects that we've put a hold on for a long time. And I'm just no longer doubtful of that, or I'm no longer numb from the fear of failure to give it a shot. And that's something exciting to just see. All the things that you mentioned, all the things that we're working on, building upon our community, growing that meaningfully, and the digital products that we have in mind. We're working really hard on those right now with the capacity that we have, and it's exciting to see the little progress. Like
we're the farthest we've ever been.
I know, because we've always found a reason, whether it's because of XYZ, we've always found a reason to not continue or stop. Now we're like, no, let's just go, put time into it. You're seeing progress every single day with the website. I'm having a lot of progress with the other products that I'm in charge of, and it's exciting because that's something that we've always talked about. We work so hard for, to be able to put time into that, to have more time and potential income to do the other thing that we love, which is being traveling creatives on the go, creative human beings, meeting people, content creators, but for our own versus our own business versus content creators for other people. And that's something
dream creators too.
Yeah, culture lovers, and that's something that I'm just excited to see how it pans out. And again, what you said, there's nothing to prove, not to ourselves, not to anyone. It's just the creative itch that we have, the creative outlet that we want to explore, and the creative season that we're in. And I want to honor that and just go and just do it and not making excuses again. Because I think we owe it to past Meijun and Estefi that literally overworked and burnt out from creative projects for clients. We that was the season we were in. We worked a lot, we saved a lot. Now let's put some time into this other creative season that we're in, so I think that's how I want to close. Is that proud of us.
Thank you.
And one day at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 second at a time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, when everything feels so difficult, focus on a second at a time, minute at a time, hour at a time. And yeah, we've done some of the hardest things that relationships go through in the span of a decade. We've decided to be in a relationship. We've broken our friendship into a relationship. We've moved countries. We bought a house. We traveled. there's just been a lot. We've gone through loss, we've gone through love, we've gone through so much, and we will continue to go through so much, and I am so excited to keep doing this with you, and I hope that the people that have been with us for these past little time just have space for all the always ever-changing new versions of ourselves and are here for us, because I'm ready to create for us and not just for others. Because that's the dream, right?
Love that.
Okay. Thank you for coming here. Happy anniversaries.
Happy anniversary.
Happy birthdays.
Thank you. Your birthday's coming up.
Yes, and I just can't wait to see what we do for my birthday. Just kidding. I can't wait to see what we do for the rest of our lives. This is very exciting, and I'm glad that I have an artist for a partner.
Me too.
I love you.
Love you too.
Okay, I love you, friends.
Bye, friends. Thank you for your time and attention. Means a lot.
Bye, friends.